Welcome. Before we begin, let me tell you something clearly. This is not a video with 5 quick tips you forget tomorrow. This is not motivation that feels good for 10 minutes and then disappears. What we are talking about today is something deeper, something that quietly decides whether your life feels peaceful or whether it feels constantly painful. Most people believe their problems come from the world, from other people, from unfair situations, bad luck, or difficult circumstances. They believe peace will come when the world changes, when people behave better, when situations finally become easier. But the truth is simpler and much harder to accept. Most suffering does not come from what happens to you. It comes from how you react to what happens to you. Every angry reply you send, every emotional message you type and regret later, every moment you raise your voice, defend your ego, or lose control of yourself, these moments feel small, but they slowly shape your life. Reaction is not just emotion. Reaction is the moment you give your power away. When you react without awareness, you allow other people, events, and opinions to control your inner world. You become busy fighting outside while losing peace inside. Calm people understand something most never learn. They know that power is not loud. Control is not aggressive. Strength is not emotional chaos. In this lesson, you will not only practice English, you will practice awareness. You will train your mind to pause, to observe, and to choose. You will begin to see why calm people rise quietly, why they are rarely shaken, and why, in the long run, they always win. This is the beginning of a different way of thinking, living, and responding. One that protects your peace and builds lasting inner strength. Lesson 1. When you react, you lose control. Let me say this in one clear sentence. If someone can control your reaction, they control you. This idea may sound simple, but it is one of the most powerful truths you can learn in life. Control does not always come from force, money, or position. Very often, control comes from emotion, especially unexamined emotion. Think about it carefully. One careless comment ruins your mood for hours. One short message steals your peace for an entire day. One small insult changes how you speak, how you think, and how you treat others. In those moments, your life is not being directed by your values or your goals. It is being pushed by invisible buttons, emotional buttons that other people can press whenever they choose. When this happens, you are no longer leading your life. You are reacting to it. You move when they move. You burn when they provoke. You explain when they doubt. This is not freedom. This is emotional control. Many people believe reacting quickly means they are strong, honest, or real. They think immediate emotion proves confidence. But reacting fast does not mean strength. It means predictability. And predictability is easy to manipulate. When people know exactly how you will react, they know how to control you. Strong people understand something different. They understand the value of the pause. They pause before speaking. They pause before replying. They pause before deciding. Not because they are afraid, but because they are aware. The pause does not need to be long. Sometimes it is only 5 seconds. One slow breath in, one steady breath out. Yet inside those 5 seconds, something important happens. Your emotional fire begins to cool. Your nervous system relaxes. Your thinking mind wakes up and steps back into the room. This is not philosophy. This is how the human brain works. When you react instantly, your emotional center takes control. When you pause, even briefly, your reasoning center returns. You regain access to choice. Pausing creates distance between stimulus and response, and in that distance, power lives. When you pause, you can ask yourself one quiet question. Do I want to give my energy to this moment? Very often, the answer is no. But without the pause, you never get the chance to choose. Pausing is not weakness, it is restraint, it is discipline, it is leadership over yourself. Anyone can explode, anyone can react. It takes strength to remain calm when emotion demands action. Each time you pause instead of reacting, you reclaim a piece of your power. You show yourself that your peace does not belong to other people. You prove that your emotions are information, not commands. This lesson is not about becoming cold or silent. It is about becoming intentional. You can still speak, you can still act, but now you do so from clarity instead of chaos. When you learn to pause, you stop being controlled. You begin to lead. And that is where real strength starts. This ability changes relationships, decisions, careers, and inner stability. It protects your dignity during conflict and preserves focus under pressure. Over time, pausing becomes natural, reactions weaken, and you discover that calm is not passive, but the most reliable form of personal power available everywhere. There was a young man working in an office building downtown. He arrived early every morning, left late every evening, followed every rule, and never complained about pressure or workload. His coworkers trusted him, his results were consistent, and his reputation slowly grew through quiet effort over several patient years. He believed hard work would always speak for itself. While others talked about success, he focused on results. While others looked for recognition, he stayed silent. He thought discipline would protect him. He thought consistency would be enough. He did not seek attention, and he never expected conflict. One afternoon, during a team meeting, his manager suddenly criticized his work publicly. The accusation was unfair and incomplete. Everyone in the room felt the tension. Faces turned toward him. Silence filled the space. In that moment, his heart raced, his chest tightened, and old pride rose inside him instantly. He did not pause, he did not breathe, he reacted. His voice rose, his words rushed, and his emotions took control. He defended himself loudly, listing facts and effort, trying to prove his value. The meeting ended awkwardly. His manager listened silently, nodded once, and calmly walked away without emotion. At first, the young man felt relief. He believed he had stood up for himself. But days passed, and something changed. Conversations grew shorter, opportunities disappeared. No one mentioned his dedication anymore. When his name came up, people remembered the moments he lost control, not the years he stayed disciplined. He noticed small shifts. Invitations stopped arriving, feedback became distant, trust quietly weakened. No one said anything directly, yet everything felt different. The office had not forgotten his reaction. It had labeled him, and labels, once formed, are difficult to remove. That single reaction reshaped how others saw him. He was no longer described as reliable or intelligent. He became emotional. One emotional moment erased years of consistent effort. He did not lose because his facts were wrong. He lost because he surrendered control of himself in public without awareness. What hurt most was not the criticism. It was the realization that discipline without emotional control is incomplete. He had trained his skills, but ignored his reactions. He had mastered his tasks, but not his impulses. And that imbalance cost him credibility. Later, alone at his desk, the lesson became clear. Power was never about winning arguments. It was about self-control. If he had paused, he would have kept dignity and influence. That day taught him a permanent truth. Reacting may feel strong, but calm preserves reputation, respect, and future opportunity, always. He began to understand something deeper. The manager did not defeat him, his emotions did. The moment he reacted, he handed away authority. Control left him quietly, without warning and without permission. That office became his classroom. From then on, he learned that silence can protect effort, patience can defend character, and one calm breath can save years of work. He never forgot that lesson because it changed how he lived, spoke, and chose forever. Lesson 2. Most reactions become regrets. You don't regret what people say to you. You regret what you said back. This truth is uncomfortable, but it is honest. Years later, you rarely remember the exact insult, the unfair comment, or the rude tone. What stays with you is your own reaction, the message you sent in anger, the words you spoke too quickly, the moment you lost control and crossed a line you cannot erase. Reactions feel powerful in the moment. Your heart beats faster, your voice feels strong, your mind believes you are defending yourself. But when the moment passes, something else appears. Guilt, shame, regret. You replay the scene again and again, wishing you had stayed quiet, wishing you had waited, wishing you had chosen differently. Calm never creates regret. Reaction almost always does. This is because reactions come from emotion, not clarity. They rise from fear, pride, insecurity, or old wounds. They are fast and automatic. In contrast, calm responses come from awareness. They are slower, deliberate, and grounded in truth. One leaves chaos behind, the other leaves peace. Think about the moments you regret most in your life. They are rarely about what happened to you. They are about how you responded. The argument that ended a relationship, the angry reply that burned a bridge, the outburst that changed how someone saw you forever. In each case, the pain did not come from the event itself, it came from your reaction to it. When you react, you trade long-term peace for short-term release. It feels good for a second, like letting steam escape, but afterward you were left cleaning the damage. Words cannot be taken back. Screenshots remain. Memories stay. People remember how you made them feel, especially when emotions were high. This is why emotional discipline matters more than emotional honesty. Honesty without control becomes destruction. Truth spoken in anger becomes a weapon, not wisdom. Many people say, "I was just being real," but real does not always mean right. Real without awareness creates regret. Remember this sentence and let it stay with you. The emotion is real. The reaction is a choice. Your anger may be real. Your hurt may be real. Your disappointment may be real. But how you express it is always a decision. Even silence is a decision. Even waiting is a decision. And those decisions shape your future quietly, one moment at a time. When you pause instead of reacting, you give yourself a gift. You give time for emotion to soften. You give space for perspective to appear. Often, what felt urgent becomes unnecessary. What felt personal becomes small. What felt unbearable becomes manageable. Regret teaches harsh lessons because it arrives too late. It shows you what you should have done after the moment is gone. Wisdom arrives earlier. Wisdom whispers before you speak. Wisdom asks you to wait, to breathe, to choose peace over impulse. You cannot control what people say or do, but you can control whether you carry regret tomorrow. Every time you resist reacting, you protect your future self. You save yourself from replaying scenes at night. You preserve your dignity, your relationships, and your inner peace. Reactions may feel strong now. Calm will feel strong later. And later is where your life actually lives. Two sisters were very close from childhood. They shared secrets, dreams, and quiet conversations late at night. They grew up protecting each other, laughing together, and believing that no matter what happened in life, their bond would always remain strong and unbreakable. As adults, life became busier, responsibilities grew, stress increased. Old wounds were never fully healed, only buried under daily routines and polite smiles. Still, whenever the family gathered, everyone could feel their connection. They stood close, they spoke easily, they felt safe with each other. One evening, during a family gathering, relatives filled the room with noise and laughter. Stories were shared, jokes were exchanged. Then, without warning, one sister made a sarcastic comment. It was meant to sound light, almost playful, but it touched something deep, something old, something painful that had never fully healed. The other sister froze for a second. Her chest tightened, her heart raced. In that brief moment, years of unspoken hurt rushed to the surface. She did not pause, she did not breathe, she reacted. She shouted. Her voice was sharp and trembling. Words poured out not from the present moment, but from the past, from memories of feeling ignored, misunderstood, and unappreciated. The words were heavy, emotional, and cruel. Some were exaggerated, some were unfair, but once spoken, they could not be taken back. The room went completely quiet. Family members avoided eye contact, the laughter disappeared, the air felt thick and uncomfortable. The sister who made the comment stood frozen, shocked, and hurt. She said nothing. She simply left the room. That night, no one spoke about what happened. The gathering ended early. Everyone went home carrying an invisible weight. The silence that followed was louder than the argument itself. Days passed, then weeks. Messages were typed and deleted. Calls were never made. Pride mixed with pain. Both sisters waited, each hoping the other would reach out first, but neither did. Time moved forward, as it always does. Birthdays passed, holidays came and went. Life continued, but the closeness never returned. Conversations became polite and distant. Smiles replaced warmth. The bond that once felt natural now felt forced. Years later, one sister sat alone, looking at an old photo of them as children. They were smiling, arms wrapped around each other, unaware of how fragile relationships can be. Tears filled her eyes, not because of the sarcastic comment, but because of her reaction. She realized the loss did not come from what was said that night. It came from how she responded. One moment of uncontrolled emotion changed the direction of their relationship forever. The regret was quiet, but constant. It appeared in memories, in family gatherings, in moments when she wanted to share good news, but hesitated. One reaction created a distance that time could not easily repair. That night taught a painful lesson. Not every emotion deserves expression. Not every wound needs a voice. Some moments ask for silence, not honesty. Because one reaction, spoken without awareness, can turn love into distance and closeness into permanent loss. Lesson 3. Silence is not weakness. The world loves noise. It rewards volume, speed, and reaction. People argue to be seen. They explain to be understood. They defend to feel safe. They prove to feel valuable. Noise feels active, powerful, and alive. Silence, by contrast, feels uncomfortable. It feels empty. It feels like losing control. That is why most people avoid it. But the strongest people are not the loudest ones in the room. They are the calm ones. They are the people who do not rush to speak, do not rush to defend, and do not rush to react. Their strength does not come from dominating conversations. It comes from mastering themselves. Silence is often misunderstood. Many believe silence means fear, weakness, or guilt. They think if you say nothing, you have nothing to say. In reality, silence usually means the opposite. Silence means you are choosing control over impulse. It means you are refusing to let emotion make decisions. Silence confuses people who want drama. When someone provokes you, they expect a reaction. They want noise. They want conflict. They want to pull you into their emotional state. When you stay silent, you deny them that power. Without your reaction, their words lose fuel and fall flat. Silence also protects dignity. Words spoken in anger often damage reputation more than the original insult. Silence keeps your image clean while others reveal themselves through excess emotion. When you do not rush to explain, you allow time and behavior to speak on your behalf. Most importantly, silence keeps control. Control of tone, control of timing, control of direction. When you speak less, you observe more. You notice patterns, intentions, and weaknesses that noise would hide. Silence sharpens awareness. When you say nothing, you are not losing. You are choosing not to play a game designed to drain you. Not every comment deserves a response. Not every accusation deserves defense. Not every misunderstanding deserves correction. Sometimes, the most powerful move is to step back and let reality unfold. Silence creates space. Space between stimulus and response. Space where clarity lives. In that space, you regain authority over yourself. You are no longer reacting. You are deciding. Strong people understand that silence is not absence. It is presence. Calm presence. Grounded presence. A presence that does not need validation. A presence that does not need to win arguments to feel worthy. In conflicts, silence shifts power. The person who can remain calm while others lose control gains influence. Their words, when they finally speak, carry weight. Their actions appear intentional, not emotional. Silence is not passive. It is strategic. It is the pause before the right move. It is restraint sharpened into strength. It allows truth to rise without force. When you learn to use silence, you stop feeding chaos. You stop leaking energy. You stop participating in unnecessary battles. Over time, people learn that provoking you leads nowhere. Respect replaces conflict. Silence is not weakness. It is emotional discipline. It is confidence without performance. It is power that does not announce itself. Those who master silence protect their peace, preserve their dignity, and keep control of their inner world. And in a noisy world addicted to reaction, that quiet control becomes one of the rarest and strongest forms of power today. A young man was attacked online by a former friend he once trusted deeply. It started quietly, then exploded overnight. False stories appeared, private messages were posted without context, screenshots were edited, cropped, and shared publicly. Comment sections filled with judgment, anger, and speculation. His name became a topic for strangers who knew nothing about his life. Everyone expected him to respond immediately. Friends messaged him saying he needed to defend himself. Others warned him that silence would look like guilt. The pressure was intense. Every instinct told him to fight back, to explain, to correct every lie one by one. His hands hovered over the keyboard many times, but he chose silence. He did not post explanations. He did not argue in comment sections. He did not release emotional statements. Instead, he logged off. He focused on his work, his health, and the people who truly knew him. Each day, the noise continued without his participation. People mocked his silence. Some called him weak. Others called him exposed. At night, doubt crept in. He wondered if silence was a mistake. He wondered if his reputation was being destroyed forever. But something inside him stayed steady. He understood that reacting would only feed the fire. Every response would create new arguments, new screenshots, new accusations. So he waited. Weeks passed. The attention slowly faded. New scandals replaced old ones. Meanwhile, the former friend grew louder, more careless, and more dramatic. Details began to contradict each other. Stories stopped matching. People started asking questions. 6 months later, the truth surfaced without his help. Someone else shared evidence. Old messages appeared in full context. Timelines were exposed. The lies collapsed under their own weight. Public opinion shifted quietly, without apology. Suddenly, his silence looked different. What once appeared as weakness now looked like restraint. What once looked like fear now looked like confidence. People realized he had trusted truth more than noise. While others screamed, he stayed grounded. While others chased attention, he preserved dignity. He never celebrated publicly. He never said, "I told you so." He simply continued living his life. That restraint deepened the respect people felt. His silence had protected him from becoming someone he would not recognize. That experience changed him permanently. He learned that not every attack requires defense. Not every accusation deserves energy. Time, consistency, and calm reveal truth better than emotion ever could. Public humiliation tests character more than comfort ever will. It exposes whether someone needs approval or trusts integrity. In choosing silence, he chose self-respect over performance. He understood something powerful. Reputation rebuilt through calm lasts longer than reputation defended through chaos. Silence allowed lies to collapse naturally without dragging him into the mud. In the end, he lost nothing by staying silent. He gained clarity, strength, and freedom. And he learned that dignity speaks loudest when you refuse to shout. That lesson stayed with him long after the headlines disappeared. Whenever conflict appeared again, he remembered the quiet strength of patience. He no longer feared misunderstanding because peace mattered more than image. Silence became his shield, not to hide, but to protect his values, his future, and his inner stability from unnecessary battles. It allowed him to move forward clean, focused, and unburdened by resentment, anger, or the need to prove himself again. Lesson 4. Not everything deserves your energy. You wake up every morning with a limited amount of energy. You cannot see it, but you feel it. It fuels your focus, your patience, your creativity, and your emotional stability. Once it is gone, nothing works the same. Your thoughts become heavy. Your reactions become faster. Your decisions become weaker. Every argument steals that energy. Every unnecessary explanation drains it. Every piece of drama takes something you will never get back. Most people live as if their energy is unlimited. They respond to every message. They defend themselves in every disagreement. They replay every insult in their mind. By the end of the day, they feel exhausted, not because life was hard, but because they gave their energy to the wrong things. If you fight every battle, you will lose the war for your life. Wise people understand something essential. Energy is not just strength. Energy is direction. Where you place it determines what grows. When you give your energy to conflict, conflict grows. When you give your energy to resentment, bitterness grows. When you give your energy to distraction, your goals slowly disappear. That is why wise people protect their energy like gold. They are not careless with attention. They are not available for every emotional demand. They do not feel guilty for walking away from situations that drain them. They understand that protecting energy is not selfish. It is necessary. Before reacting, they ask one simple question. Does this help me grow? Does this conversation improve my character? Does this argument move my life forward? Does this drama deserve my focus? If the answer is no, they walk away. Walking away does not mean you are weak. It means you are selective. It means you understand opportunity cost. Every minute spent on conflict is a minute stolen from growth. Every emotional reaction takes space that could have been used for learning, creating, building, or resting. Many people confuse availability with kindness. They believe saying no makes them cold. In reality, constant availability makes them empty. You cannot pour from an empty cup. When you give your energy everywhere, you have nothing left for what truly matters. Energy must be invested, not wasted. Think of your goals. They require focus. Think of your relationships. They require patience. Think of your peace. It requires protection. None of these survive if your energy leaks into meaningless battles. Some people will provoke you because your reaction feeds their ego. Others will pull you into drama because they are uncomfortable with silence. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every emotional demand deserves a response. Learning to walk away is learning to choose yourself. This lesson changes how you live daily. You stop checking messages that upset you. You stop engaging in conversations that go nowhere. You stop explaining yourself to people committed to misunderstanding you. You begin to feel lighter, clearer, and more focused. Energy saved becomes power gained. When you protect your energy, your mind stays sharp, your emotions stay balanced, your decisions improve. Life becomes quieter but stronger, less reactive but more intentional. You begin to realize that peace is not found by fixing everything. Peace is found by letting go of what does not matter. Not everything deserves your energy. Not every problem is yours to solve. Not every battle is worth fighting. When you understand this, your life stops feeling like constant resistance and starts feeling like forward movement. Guard your energy. Spend it wisely. Invest it where growth is possible. That is how strong, calm people build lives that last.
Lesson 5. Calm always wins. Calm people see clearly when others panic. While chaos narrows the mind, calmness widens perspective. Calm people notice details, patterns, and consequences that emotional minds overlook. They do not rush toward conclusions. They do not confuse urgency with importance. Because of this, calm people make better decisions, even under pressure. Calm people also lead without shouting. They do not need volume to command respect. Their presence alone creates stability. In meetings, conflicts, families, and crises, people naturally look toward the calmest person in the room, not because that person is louder or stronger, but because calm signals safety, clarity, and control. Calm does not mean the absence of pain. This is important to understand. Calm people still feel hurt, fear, disappointment, and anger. The difference is that they do not allow those emotions to turn into panic. Calm is pain held with strength. Panic is pain that takes control. There's a powerful story that illustrates this truth. On a crowded train during rush hour, people stood shoulder to shoulder, tired and impatient. Suddenly, a drunk man entered the compartment. He was loud, aggressive, and unsteady. He pushed passengers, shouted insults, and invaded personal space. Tension filled the air instantly. Some people moved away, others shouted back. A few raised their phones, ready to record. The situation was seconds away from becoming violent. In the middle of the chaos stood one old man. He did not move, he did not shout. His face remained calm, his body relaxed. When the drunk man approached him, fists clenched and voice raised, everyone expected a confrontation. Instead, the old man looked at him gently and asked, "What happened to you today?" The question landed like silence. The drunk man froze. His fists slowly dropped. His shoulders collapsed. The anger drained from his face, replaced by confusion and sadness. He sat down and began to cry. The entire compartment went quiet. Nothing else was said. No force was used. No authority was displayed. Calm changed everything. The old man understood something the others did not. The situation was not about him. It was about pain. By staying calm, he refused to turn someone else's storm into his own. This is why calm always wins. Panic multiplies chaos. Calm dissolves it. Anger feeds anger. Calm disarms it. When you stay calm, you change the emotional environment around you. Calm also protects your authority. When you react emotionally, you lower yourself to the level of the conflict. When you stay calm, you rise above it. Others may not understand it immediately, but they feel it. Calm creates psychological leadership. This applies everywhere. In arguments, the calmer person controls the direction. In negotiations, the calmer person holds leverage. In emergencies, the calmer person becomes the anchor. Even in everyday life, calm attracts trust. Calm is not passive, it is trained. It requires awareness, breathing, and discipline. It requires choosing response over reaction again and again. Anyone can scream. Anyone can panic. Anyone can lose control. But the person who can remain steady when pressure rises becomes rare. That steadiness becomes power. When life becomes loud, calm becomes your advantage. When emotions run high, calm becomes your shield. When others react, calm allows you to respond wisely. Calm always wins, not because it fights harder, but because it understands deeper.
Lesson 6. Reaction versus response. Reaction is automatic. Response is intentional. Reaction happens fast, without permission, without thought. It rises from the body before the mind is ready. Response, on the other hand, is chosen. It requires awareness, presence, and restraint. One happens to you, the other is created by you. Reaction comes from wounds, old wounds, unhealed memories, past experiences that still live quietly inside the nervous system. When something touches those wounds, the body reacts before logic can speak. The heart races, the voice tightens, the mind prepares for defense. In that moment, you are not responding to now, you are reliving then. Response comes from awareness. Awareness sees the emotion without becoming it. Awareness notices the trigger and pauses. It separates the present moment from the past experience. This separation is powerful. It turns unconscious behavior into conscious choice. Most people believe they are reacting to what is happening in front of them. In reality, they are reacting to what happened years ago. a tone that reminds them of disrespect, a silence that reminds them of abandonment, a criticism that reminds them of shame. The present becomes a doorway into the past, and the reaction rushes through. This is why reactions often feel bigger than the situation. The emotion does not match the moment because it does not belong to the moment. It belongs to history. Without awareness, the past controls the present. Response changes everything. A response asks questions before acting. What is actually happening right now? What am I feeling? Why does this feel familiar? Do I need to act or do I need to wait? These questions slow the process. Slowness creates space. Space creates power. Ask yourself one question. Am I reacting from the past or responding in the present? That one question creates freedom. Freedom does not come from controlling others. It comes from understanding yourself. When you recognize that a reaction is rooted in an old wound, you stop feeding it. You stop giving the past permission to decide your behavior today. Responding does not mean suppressing emotion. It means acknowledging emotion without letting it drive. You can feel anger without speaking it. You can feel hurt without attacking. You can feel fear without running. This is emotional maturity. Reaction feels urgent. Response feels calm. Reaction demands action now. Response waits for clarity. Reaction seeks relief. Response seeks truth. This distinction changes relationships. When you respond instead of react, conversations become cleaner, boundaries become clearer, conflicts become shorter. You stop saying things you must later repair. It also changes how you see yourself. Each response builds self-trust. Each pause strengthens discipline. Over time, reactions weaken because awareness grows. The nervous system learns safety. The mind learns patience. Responding is a skill. It is trained through repetition, through breathing before speaking, through observing sensations instead of obeying them, through choosing silence when emotion demands noise. You will still feel triggers, you will still feel emotion, but you will no longer be owned by them. Reaction is living on autopilot. Response is conscious living. One is survival, the other is mastery. Every moment offers this choice. React like the past still controls you, or respond like the present belongs to you. That choice, repeated daily, becomes freedom. Nothing else changes life more deeply.
Lesson 7. Let go of ego and gain peace. Ego wants to prove. Ego wants to win. Ego wants recognition, validation, and respect. It whispers constantly, telling you that you deserve more, that others are wrong, that silence means weakness. Ego demands action, explanation, defense, and victory. But ego is not strength. Ego is noise. Ego reacts before wisdom arrives. It interrupts calm with urgency. It turns small misunderstandings into emotional wars. Ego cannot tolerate being ignored, misunderstood, or unseen. When ego feels threatened, it pushes you to speak, to argue, to explain, to attack. Not because it will help, but because it wants to be fed. Many people confuse ego with confidence. They believe defending themselves loudly means self-respect. In reality, true confidence does not need protection. What is real does not require proof. What is strong does not need constant explanation. You do not need to defend your worth. You do not need to prove your value. You do not need to convince others of who you are. When you chase validation, you give control away. You place your peace in the hands of opinions that change daily. Ego keeps you trapped in reaction,
always responding to how others see you instead of how you know yourself. Ego is exhausting. It keeps score. It remembers insults. It replays conversations. It wants revenge disguised as justice. But every time you act from ego, you trade peace for pride. Pride feels powerful for a moment. Peace lasts longer. Letting go of ego does not mean becoming passive. It means becoming free. Free from the need to win every argument, free from the pressure to explain yourself, free from the urge to react to disrespect. When ego loosens its grip, clarity takes its place. Without ego, silence becomes comfortable. Without ego, walking away feels natural. Without ego, you stop taking everything personally. You realize that most behavior reflects inner pain, not your value. This understanding softens reactions and strengthens boundaries. Peace appears when ego disappears, not suddenly, but quietly. You notice fewer arguments, fewer regrets, less emotional exhaustion. You begin choosing rest over reaction, truth over performance, dignity over drama. This is self-mastery, not controlling others, but mastering your inner world. Ego seeks control outside. Mastery builds stability inside. One depends on attention, the other depends on awareness. To let go of ego, notice the urge to prove. Pause when you want to explain. Observe when you feel the need to be right. Ask yourself one honest question. Is this about truth or is this about ego? That question alone weakens ego's voice. Let people misunderstand you. Let them be wrong. Let silence speak. Not everyone deserves access to your story. Not every opinion deserves your energy. The less you defend yourself, the lighter you feel. When ego steps aside, peace steps forward. Your mind becomes quieter. Your reactions soften. Your life becomes less about winning and more about living. You stop performing and start being. That is real strength. Quiet, steady, unshaken. When ego no longer leads, peace becomes your natural state. From this moment on, choose calm. Not once, not sometimes, every day. Let this be a quiet promise you make to yourself, not in anger, not in fear, but in clarity. The world will continue to test you. People will provoke. Situations will pressure you. Chaos will knock again and again. Calm is how you answer. You do not need to react to everything placed in front of you. Not every comment deserves your voice. Not every insult deserves your emotion. Not every battle deserves your energy. Some fights are designed only to distract you from who you are becoming. Walking away is not losing. It is choosing your future over temporary release. Your silence can be strength when noise tries to pull you down. Your calm can become confidence when others expect collapse. Staying calm does not mean you feel nothing. It means you feel everything without letting it control you. That is not weakness. That is mastery. You're not here to prove your worth. You are not here to defend your value. You are not here to explain yourself to every passing opinion. Your life will speak louder than your reactions ever could. Let your actions do the talking. Let time reveal the truth. Stay calm when emotions rise. Stay deep when the world becomes shallow. Stay steady when others lose direction. Each time you choose calm, you reclaim power. Each time you pause, you protect peace. Each time you walk away from chaos, you move closer to clarity. Remember this when pressure returns. Remember this when anger feels justified. Remember this when silence feels uncomfortable. Calm is not passive. Calm is active strength. Choose calm today. Choose it tomorrow. Choose it when it is hardest. Because calm minds do not just survive, calm minds rise. Always.